Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rebel Collective podcast. I'm your host, Drago Reid.
And I'm your co-host, Laura Eisenhower. Welcome, everybody.
Both Laura and I are the Rebel Collective, just two rebels that have been deplatformed, deleted, shadow banned, persecuted, and muzzled, and we're leading other rebels and pioneers in their fields and giving them a voice that can't be silenced because we together are the resistance.
Wow, we have such a special guest today. I am so amazed by what I just read. We're going to dive into all of this material that you just gave us about your experiences. So Arkheim Ra is an ancient being that incarnated as a human and then was intercepted to be brainwashed and enslaved for service in Black Ops military projects through the United States Air Force and the U.S. Public Schools Talented and Gifted program by having an IQ of over 180 in the second grade. He was used for clandestine operations involving time travel, including Project Phoenix, Project Looking Glass, and the colonization of the breakaway colony Centurion 5. Having served in numerous classified space programs and time projects, Arkheim brings a unique testimony that will make you question our place in the universe. Arkheim is also a whistleblower of cloning centers and their connection to the entertainment industry, and is a voice for the use of MK Ultra mind control in Hollywood. Wow, gosh. I know, Drago, you're going to just jump into the first question. So many. Go ahead, Drago.
Your microphone's not on.
Freaking mute. Yeah, Arkheim, man, it's been a long time coming, man. I've been wanting you on the show for the longest time because we found out that actually we're in the programs together. So it's a very unique perspective with this interview. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So your multidimensional approach to life is a very unique perspective to have, being involved in so many illegal government projects. What was the moment that made you look around and basically question your reality and start the process of kind of piecing together the fragments and memories and experiences that ultimately led you to question the very nature of existence itself?
Seeing a flying saucer in second grade in the broad daylight above the water treatment facility, which I now know is an entrance to the deep underground military base that's underneath Appleton, where they were, doing experiments on me and torturing me and activating my abilities and stuff. So that would be it. It's one of those things where you see it and it's there. And it was really unique too, because I kind of telepathically picked up on them being like, how is he seeing us? This is bad. Like, what's going on? He's not supposed to see us. Like, almost like they had some sort of thing, mind shield thing, where people would see him. Like, it wasn't a physical thing. Like, they had some sort of telepathic thing to make people not notice them. If that makes any sense. That's what it felt like. And yeah, I just remember, like, in second grade, after that experience, asking my mom about it, asking my dad, asking all these different people about it. And what I found interesting was, like, teachers that I respected and adults in my life that I respected tried to tell me that, like, it just didn't happen. Like, there's no way I saw what I saw. And so that made me realize, like, okay, these people, like the adults in my life that claim to be authority, they claim to be the end all be all and know what's going on. They have no fucking clue what's happening, right? So that really opened up my mind. And then as far as, like, what got me to the point where I'm here talking to you now and I'm able to actually talk about, like, Project Phoenix 2, the Montauk Project and all the things that happened to me, it's just really being able, having the context to be able to understand what happened to me, because we're programmed in society to not be able to understand time travel exists, cloning, consciousness transferal, and just having the anomaly of memory starting to bleed through just led me on this journey. Because most people, I think that a lot of people are on this, and I think that's like an anomaly. I don't think that happens all the time, where you actually have memories of your experiences. Like, the programming is supposed to keep that buried. So it just took me a long time to be able to understand my memories and have context to them to where I could move forward and actually navigate through what happened to me, because of pioneers like Tony Rodriguez and people like that, where I saw their testimony while searching for answers. And it took these concepts that seemed like far off to me and foreign, and society raises us to not be able to understand them and make them look like Hollywood magic, like not real. You know what I mean? Like, but I finally have come to the point where I can understand that these concepts like cloning and space travel and ET and everything else, that's part of their grift. That's part of their psychological manipulation and their illusion, is making it look like, oh, a spaceship. You're talking about ET. You're talking about Star Wars. You're talking about Star Trek. They put all these concepts out there, like a lot of people call it, soft disclosure or predictive programming. It's also so that when you talk about it, you sound ridiculous. Like during the 80s, I'm sorry if I'm going on a rant here, but during the 80s, there were guys that were getting recall of Mars and being super soldiers on Mars. We all know that was happening, right? We didn't have the internet, we didn't have the outlet we do now, but that was occurring. So what did they do? They put out Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger about this guy on Mars that gets his memories wiped and make it look all far out and like it could never, you know what I mean? And that way, when people talk about it, it's like, oh, you just saw Total Recall, you just saw Star Trek, you just saw this, you're crazy. But now we're finally getting to the point. Finally, we're reaching this precipice where even like normal people are like, wait a minute, who's to say that these concepts can't exist? Like, right? Like, we're reaching the point where the paradigm is shifting, and that's why we're all here talking right now, is so that we can help humanity and all these people that aren't versed on these concepts and haven't been exposed to them. It's going to take us to kind of help them adjust to society post disclosure, because it's going to be these changes, like they're so huge, they kind of can't just happen overnight. There's going to have to be a game plan. There's going to have to be referees and people in between who understand kind of guiding the way. And I kind of sort of think that's us. So that's the beginning of my story, I guess, and how I got to the point where I am now. I'm sorry if that was long-winded.
No, that's great. There's something in what I read where just the whole journey into recovering these memories, right? And how traumatic that can be. Like, you ventured down this path with what, Keith, right? And you didn't really have any assistance in order to help you process this, right? I mean, how did that go?
Okay, so it was a friend of mine that I think I don't use their real name in the book. It might have been Keith. So but because I still have respect for them. They're deceased now, and I don't know if they'd want to be in my book. But basically, we were kids, and we'd see like weird lights in the sky and stuff around our neighborhood, and we were very curious, and we also knew the story, like missing time and these concepts. Like, we understood how they can like make you forget stuff, and we wondered, if we're seeing spaceships around our neighborhood and stuff like that, like have we been abducted? And so we did this automatic writing thing because we had heard that, which is kind of wild. Think about it. We're very young kids, like, I don't think we were even 10 years old. And we're doing this automatic writing thing, or maybe it's hard to remember the age. Maybe we were like 10 years old. But anyway, we were kids in elementary school still doing this. And I just remember that like I started writing this stuff, and I just had all these flashes, and it was like being on a table, and like there was so much stuff at once I couldn't handle it really. But some of it was like, like the aliens looking down at me, and like stuff being put up my nose, and all this weird crap. That was really hard for me to. Well, I freaked out. I started screaming, and I couldn't stop screaming, and I was like crying. And my friend's mom came up. She's like, "What's going on?" And my friend was just like, "I don't know. I don't know what's going. They're freaking out." You know what I mean? Like, and the parents had to come get me, and I just kind of explained that I've been abducted, and I already knew it. I was so afraid of going to bed every night, like, and I'd have to put the blanket over my head because I didn't want to. I knew it was gonna get taken, and I didn't want to have to look at whatever was taking me. I didn't want to see it. It scared me that much. So I'd always put my blanket over my face, and it's just kind of like, parents always tell you, oh, well, that's just kids being afraid of the monster under the bed. Like, it's not real. Go to sleep. Like, that's what they tell you. But we in these programs know there's some sort of truth to these stories. Like it turns into folklore, and it gets changed over time as far as the way people describe it. But this has been going on for centuries. So, and now that we have the context to be able to explain it, that's why we're here. And that's why we're doing this. It's just because we can explain it now.
Man, that reminds me of the GATE program, the gifted and talented education program, and how you were identified at such a young age and inducted into that. Why don't we start at the GATE program and see where that goes?
Sure, sure. That's definitely so. I can actually say that if you were to look on my Facebook, one of the first posts that I ever made, because it's always bothered me and I always wanted to ask people about it and see like if anyone else remembered, was, I always remembered this and I always thought it was weird. And it took me a very long time to connect it to, wait, the aliens and stuff and the school and the military, like it's all connected, you know what I mean? But basically, like, I just remember that I was pulled out of school, like normal class, and there are these two people that were with the government who can't remember what they look like or anything. I think that's intentional. I think they like blurred themselves from my memory with like, somehow or whatever. But I just remember there were like these two people, and it was really weird. Like the school counselor, the normal one, was just like, yeah, these people want to talk to you about the talented and gifted program, like your IQ is really high or something like that. And they want to ask you some questions. And they gave me this pamphlet like questionnaire thing, and they asked some pretty wild questions. Like it asked like, if you were in the future and you like, and people, you can read minds, and the police are looking for like a bad guy, basically like a terrorist, like would you be willing to read people's minds to find the terrorist? Like weird questions like that, like where it's like, what are you talking about? Like, and like, do you see ghosts? Do you talk to angels? Can you read people's minds? Like really like there's no other way of getting around it. Like they ask me these questions and that's inappropriate. They're inappropriate questions to be asking a child, period. Like 100%. And of course, we all know what happened next. I mean, that's next level illegal, next level appropriate, because what they did is they took me out of school and they started, pushing me further and further with these tests. And one of the ones that's the clearest to me that I remember the best is they strapped me down to a table and they had electrodes hooked up to different parts of my body, including my head. And there was a TV in, I think it was the next room over, or maybe it was even in the room. All I know is I couldn't see it. Like I couldn't physically see it. It wasn't in front of me. And this guy who I call the man in the brown suit, because he wore a brown suit, and he would smoke cigarettes and put his cigarettes out on me and stuff. He always smelled like smoke. But anyway, he's like, he's like, you're gonna tell us what colors are on the TV every time it beeps. I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? I can't see it. He's like, you don't use your eyes, you fucking idiot or something. I mean, he really was degrading towards me when he talked to me. He's like, we know what you are, you fucking monster. You're gonna be able to see the fucking colors on the picture, and you're gonna tell me what you see. And so, beeps. And I don't say anything. And the shock thing, he's like, you gotta say something, And so I start saying like orange, and I'm saying the wrong color or whatever. And then slowly, like it activates me. This is I'm afraid of dying from being electrocuted. So it activates but this plus I'm pretty sure they put me on drugs too. It like activated my like ability to be able to actually remote view in real time that screen, to where every time it beeped, I mean, and it sped up too. Once I started guessing right, they sped it up. And it was like, until it was like beep, and I'd say purple, beep, orange, beep, yellow again, beep, orange, like I'd say it exact right every time. And then that's when they knew they're like getting somewhere, right? And I remember the Zener cards or whatever, that like them like trying to like you had to see what cards were on the guy's cards in the other room. And then eventually, they brought me to like the moon, and for a long time I was like just on a table, and they would use me to like communicate with like multidimensional beings that they couldn't communicate with without me, or something that could, or other timelines, or like to be able to predict future events or see into other timelines. They just used me like an orb, like like a crystal ball, like the wizard with the crystal ball. I was the crystal ball. Like, which is kind of messed up because I'm a human being and they were treating me like I'm just a fucking object. But I didn't remember any of all that. So that all got wiped, and I got given memories of going to the aquarium and going to see the dinosaur museum and stuff like that. And I'd come back just like feeling like I got the shit beaten out of me, just feeling like sick, but not being able to explain it, and just like remembering being at a fucking museum or something and just being like, okay, I guess that's what happened. and then you're like a child. So it's like, like no one notices. No one see that's the problem that human beings have is we don't treat our children like humans. You're not allowed to be a human being until you're 18. You're not allowed to be treated as like you matter until you're 18. And that's a huge problem that we have. If we didn't treat our kids this way, none of these programs would exist. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't happen because we're trained. Maybe it's generational trauma that's programmed into us, but it's like we're trained to not pay close enough attention to our kids. And I don't blame my mom. I don't blame her at all. She's like any other parent. She sent me to public. How the hell was she supposed to know that they're sending me off to space and stuff? Especially with the time travel aspect, there's no way she would have ever been able to wrap her mind around it. I actually had a good mom growing up. I know a lot of these people in these programs are not blessed with that. They have terrible handler families. My family is actually pretty good. But yeah, it's just I was given like the cover memories, like I said, and the thing that kind of broke it open for me was so in third grade, I got new teacher, you know what I mean? Slightly different classmates and stuff like that. They switched around a little bit. And I wasn't in the talented and gifted program anymore, which I thought was weird. So I went up to the teacher and I was like, hey, like, why am I not in the talented and gifted program anymore? Like, I was in it last year. No, I'm not. And she's just like, I don't know. I wasn't your teacher last year and I'm not part of the tag thing. So I don't know. And these two other kids were like, wait, what? You weren't in the tag program. We were in it and you weren't in it. And I was like, yeah, I was. Like, I was in it. Like, we watched Bill Nye the Science Guy. Like, I even like we went to the aquarium. Like, you don't remember that stuff? They're like, no, none of that happened, dude. You're crazy. Like, and I thought they were bullying me. That was the only explanation I had, is I wasn't in any anymore, and that was their way of going, ha ha, like gaslighting me to like make fun of me, to pick on me because I wasn't good enough to be in the program, and they were. That's what I thought it was. But then once I just kind of thought about it on one day, like cover memories. Like I actually literally laid down in my bed and meditated. I'm like, I'm gonna remember what the fuck happened to me. I was there. You know what I mean? Like I was physically present. They deleted my memories. It's in there somewhere. You know what I mean? So I was lying down and I was trying to remember. And that's when it clicked. When I remembered that, I was like, holy shit. They weren't bullying me. I literally wasn't fucking there. I wasn't there. Like I was somewhere else entirely. And that just opened up the floodgates for me. Like that opened up everything. I was like, wait a minute. Like, and so yeah, that was it really. Was it took some time, and I remember like one of the first things I did after that, because I kind of just kept it ruminated on it. I didn't tell anyone for like 3 days. And then I asked my mom if she wanted to go on a walk with me. I don't want to walk with my mom. And I was like, I feel like I'm kind of losing it, Mom. And I need you to help ground me in reality. And she's like, what's going on? And I was just like, remember how when I was a kid, I said I was abducted by aliens and I was all freaked out. And you basically told me, don't talk about it to like really, because I don't want you to go to like a mental institution. Like you told me to kind of just forget about it if I could. And I did. She's like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, well, that happened. You know that, right? Like I really was on spaceships and stuff. She's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I always believed you. I knew you were telling the truth. Your dad talked about the same kind of stuff. Like, I believe you, And I was just like, I think it has to do with the military. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I think they turned me into a weapon, Mom. Like, think about it. Like, remember I told you how they asked me all those weird questions, and like, and then those kids, they had like they said I wasn't there. Remember that? She's like, yeah, I do remember that. I was like, there's no explanation other than I wasn't there. Like, I wasn't there. Like, I was somewhere else. And she's like, wow, I believe you. I like, she just was supportive. And she was just like, I was like, Mom, what the fuck do I do? Like, how? I like this information, like, I buried it my whole life, Mom. I can't do it anymore. The floodgates are opening. Like, what do I do? And she gave me the best advice my mom's ever given me. Like I said, love my mom. I'm grateful for the mother I have. She said, find other people like you. They gotta be out there. The internet exists. Like look up like talented and gifted survivors, or you know what I mean? Like just look for groups. There's gotta be there's gotta be other people remembering this and realizing this happened to them. And so that's what I did, and that's how I got here. Is with the support of my mom, with just your program sort of to like, I'm supposed to bury this. And that's kind of the conversation with my mom. Was like, Mom, should I just bury this and just go on with my life? And she's like, No, no, you can't. Like, you can't bury it. Like, obviously you can't. It's time to face it, was kind of her advice. Like, and yeah, so that's really like how it came to the point like that I accepted what happened to me in Talented and Gifted. And I'm also finding like, with the SSP Sphere Secret Space Program and MK Ultra Sphere, like it's not that every single person is saying that, right? Talking about that, but it's huge now. There's groups, there's lots of people that are talking about Talented and Gifted and how it's connected to cloning. It's connected like the human cloning centers. It's connected to time travel. It's connected to Solar Warden and military programs and just so much stuff. It's just absolutely wild. And what a lot of it is too is the people that they like to use over and over again, like you, Drago. I don't really know you as well, Laura, but I know you, Drago. One of the reasons why they like to use you in all these programs is one of the things that they figured out is they've been testing the butterfly effect. That's like one of the hugest parts about what they're doing, these time travel people. They're trying to figure out, okay, if you do this in 1778, and this is what the universe ends up like in 2000 years, how do they correlate? They're trying to figure out all those things and who changes what and who are the key players and everything else. And what they figured out is that certain people are sort of just like living their lives like they're just, it's not that they don't matter, but they just sort of exist and they're sort of just hanging out and their lives are of no consequence. If they live or die, it doesn't change the timeline. Who they marry doesn't change the timeline really. But then there's other people where their choices and what they do drastically shift the timeline. It's like a marble. Like you put it down on like you take a cloth and you put a marble down on the cloth. Some of the marbles are going to have less weight to them and not really push down on the cloth, but like a bigger, heavier, or just a more dense marble, it's going to push more weight on the cloth. That's what you are and I am, Drago, and probably you as well, Laura, as we push down harder on the fabric of reality to change it. And so they figured out these key players. That's why, like certain people, it's like they'll have a one-off testimony. Like Daryl James, his testimony is one-off. He remembers one thing. Some of us have been used like over and over and over and over and over again. And Daryl might be one of those people too. I'm not sure if he does realize it or not, or if he was, I don't know. It just I'd have to talk to him about it. But what I'm saying is like that's the reason why people might be like, why would they use you for this over here and Solar Warden and this over here and not why are you so targeted? And it sounds maybe egotistical or something like that, but I just know it from what I experienced and from remembering and just knowing. I was there, man, and certain people, they just have more weight to them, and those people get targeted. That's one of the reasons why I like Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte is a Montauk boy. He also has songs stolen from him in the same manner that I do. Some hit dance songs and stuff like that people love were made by Napoleon Bonaparte in MK Ultra programs. Whether people can wrap their minds around that or not, that's fact, that's true, that's reality. And the reason why they targeted him is because that dude has some pull. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where we're at. Is like with these time travel programs, is they're trying to shape reality, and they want people who can be good chisels. You know what I mean? More effective chisels. And unfortunately, because we're good chisels in shaping reality, we are targeted more frequently and more intensely.
To shape the reality they want.
To shape the reality that they want, to really pervert and invert what we came here to do, because we didn't come here to shape a dark existence or a dark reality. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't think we came here for that. And that's what I was used for in Project Phoenix too. And I think that's an important thing for me to mention, is that in that program, I was a weapon of evil, and I was not a good person. My code name was Dark Phoenix 1148B, and I was known as the Shield of Baphomet. That was my nickname, and I led a legion of soldiers that served Baphomet through me, and we reported directly to Baphomet, who is a Draco. He's a reptilian, but like, and yeah, my legion was like literally a legion of soldiers that would, like when you hear about the Crusades, and like there's things that we would do where we would go into, I'm not proud of this, but this is why I'm talking, is so people realize what happened. we'd find, like, I remember with the Aztecs and things like that, like some of the South American Native Americans and stuff like that. They'd have a bloodline. We didn't want it around. We just didn't want it in the timeline. So we'd be instructed, and we'd bring people from the time period and stuff like that and lead them with, they'd come with us, but we'd be instructed to kill every man, woman, and child. And it would be a bloodbath. Babies, literally, we would have to kill the babies. We'd have to kill all of them and take their technology and leave. And it's not fun to talk about, but that's what Montauk was. And how did they get us to do that? How did they get me to be that evil? Well, first of all, you have to listen to them or they torture you, and you can't escape because they can just wake you up in your body over and over again. You can't leave. Even if you go to some alternate reality and try to run away from them, they can still fish you back. They have ways of doing that. And also, not only that, you have children in these programs and lovers in these programs, and they'll torture them in front of you. And so eventually what they do is they program you to be afraid of love, to be afraid of loving people. And to, instead of getting that source of fulfillment that a person would normally get out of love and interpersonal relationships and honor and valuing their connections with others, you get that out of pillaging and plundering and making people afraid of you. That's how they invert you. And they do that by making you afraid of love. Because, like, after you realize that all, like, basically, like, if you decide to care about somebody in these programs, well, there you go. That's a carrot for them to dangle in front of you. That person is caught in the crossfire. They're going to use that person against you. They're going to torture that person in front of you probably at some point if they want you to do something that you aren't willing to do. So it's like they really can coerce you into doing this stuff and also brainwash you and manipulate you into thinking what you're doing is right and that it needs to be done. So, yeah, I'm not coming out here to say that I was some sort of hero in these programs. Quite the opposite. I was a really bad guy, and these time corporations are evil, and they need to be shut down, which is really, really easy to say and much harder to do.
Wow. And you said the teachers and the people that were at the schools were a part of this and they knew about this.
Yeah, so this is something that's really important for people to understand is a lot of teachers have an altar where if they're not in the programs, there's a real simple program that they throw into them. And I won't claim to know exactly how they do it. I'm guessing they do it with grays and they take them at night and just a one and done. They program them this way. But basically, you're able to say a code phrase to a teacher. Like when these MK Ultra people come in, they can say like, "Hey, Mrs. Peterson, did you know that the eagle has landed and the silver sunset is the silver sun is rising." Just something that no one would ever fucking say to them ever, right? It basically doesn't matter what it is. It just has to be something that no one would ever say ever. And once you say that, they womp, and they become like you could just like push them, slap them in the face, whatever. They just stand there, and and it basically makes them docile. And then until you say another code phrase, what it does is you say the code phrase and then they activate again and go back to normal, and they also don't remember anything that just happened. So that's one thing that they can do. Or the teachers will literally like be in the programs and have altars. However, I do remember that in which it's in my book, and I have never talked about it in an interview yet, but Stockbridge Elementary, I had a teacher named Miss Punt, and she had a military guy that was a fiance, and she sexually molested me with her husband and took me out of, there's field trips and stuff like that. And I remember her touching me and kissing on me and telling me not to tell anyone and stuff like that. So she knew what was going on.
And kindergarten, right?
What's that?
I was in kindergarten, right?
Yeah, and then I have another teacher that I fear saying the name publicly, so I guess I won't do it. But they're a teacher at the high school I went to, Central High School, and they're a Mason, and they know exactly what's going on. They know that a lot of the kids that are going to that school are in the programs, and he kind of keeps an eye on them and sees how much they're remembering and talks to them and stuff like that. And he also tried to groom me and tried to initiate like a relationship with me like after high school and stuff like that. So, which is, pretty common for these handlers and stuff like that. I don't know why he thought that it would work, but it didn't. But he just drove me further away from him. But yeah, yeah, so I think it's really important to bring up the fact that like, there's a lot of really great people, really great teachers that are just trying to be there and educate children, and they're not bad people. In fact, that's, it's an important job, right? Like a lot of people that do that are great people. So I really want to reiterate the fact that in fact, I would say 99% of teachers are not aware of this. But yeah, you're gonna have some Masonic teachers or whatever. You're gonna have people that are in the know for sure. They're definitely out there, but the normal program is everybody has altars. Everybody has triggers to activate their altars, and everybody is totally aware of what's going on while simultaneously not being aware of what's going on all at the same time. Because that's how clandestine operations work. Like, what better asset or espionage agent can you have than one who doesn't even know what they're doing or know that they're spy? You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of how these programs work, and they're very automatic. That's something that I think that my testimony I think differs from other people, where a lot of people talk about, oh, they wiped my memories, they made me forget. Yo, something that I really want to make clear is your alters delete your memories for you. You have everybody in these programs, you got alters inside your mind that are literally just sitting there being a referee controlling your thoughts. Oh, I'm trying to remember. I'm so forgetful during this interview. Why am I not remembering this thing? Your alter. Like your alter's literally like, no, no, no. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that happen before or you think about something and you start getting a headache? Like you're trying to remember that, and that's your alter literally like, no, not allowed. Don't go there. Like you have alters inside your mind, literally that they programmed to keep you complacent. And a lot of these times when you wake up the next day and you realize you're like gone for 20 years and you're on another planet, like your initial idea or a thought is, I got kidnapped. When it's really you woke up as an alter, they opened a portal and they just walked through it and did their job and then came back. It was all on your own volition, but it wasn't you, it was an alter. So that's like one of I think the most important things that I can say now that people are, giving me a voice or whatever, and then I'm able to give my testimony, is that a lot of people, and maybe they understand it or they don't or whatever, but it's really important to understand how these alters work and how a lot of these programs they make them automatic. They make it generational. So it's like you have kids and you're siphoning into the programs and you don't even realize you're doing it, but that's what you're doing because it's your alters doing it. It's like very, very compartmentalized and very like the wheels turn on their own, like self-operating. Like, and that's once people start understanding those concepts better, like that aspect of it better, we'll realize it also makes you realize we have more control, right? Because it's literally us. It's literally us. So if we do the work on ourselves, that's kind of what starts fixing it, right? Like, so it's not, I'm not to say it in a way to make people feel powerless. It's like, no, these alters are in you and you can actually integrate them and start working together and be on the same team. It just takes some time.
I like to refer to the main altar that blocks all the memories and all you moving forward and actually integrating your memories as the gatekeeper. And gatekeepers are very important because they're the main altar that controls all the altars below it. And it's a security system. So people like me and you, man, they trained us in theta class. So doing the Venner cards and all that stuff, they basically trained us in psychic warfare. And the reason why they had to give us alters is because if you or I were ever abducted in the field or on an op, more than likely we would be tortured. And the reason why we have these alters, it's not just to control us, it's also a security system. The moment we are captured, we will go into a torture altar if we start getting tortured or we start getting questioned. And that torture altar is completely separate from the host consciousness. It's completely separate in memories. And the moment we start getting tortured, it goes to the torture altar. And all the information located in the torture altar is completely separate from what you would call the core or the host altar. So there would be no way to torture us to get that information because that information for espionage reasons is stored in a separate altar that's outside of the core.
You want to know another thing I remember about that whole thing it's pretty dark, fair warning. I remember at Montauk they did it to me, and I remember having to do this to to kids. It's not fun to talk about it, and I'm not proud of it. But we would have to torture them and kill them over and over again, the children. And when we'd wake up in a new body, we'd ask them, "Do you remember me? I'm Jacob. Do you remember me?" You know what I mean? Like, well, I wouldn't say my name, but like I'd say, "Do you remember?" And they'd say, "Yeah, you're Jacob." I go, "Good." And then they could stop. That meant that. So what that was for was so when they got taken and they got tortured to death by a different group on a mission, when they reactivated them, we could make them pretend to be reset. So they'd be like, "Oh, we have an asset now from the other side." Like they don't have memories. And so then they program them and use them. But the whole time they do remember. Because most groups didn't know you could, like, it's intense. Like not all kids can handle that. Most of them they go catatonic and they just when you wake them up, they're just like foaming at the mouth. That's how a lot of them die, is because we literally broke their souls. That's like a crime it's worse than murder, okay? Like breaking a soul permanently. Like a lot of these disabled kids that you see that wake up and they don't, you know what I mean? That's what that was. That's their soul is like, it needs so much time to heal because of what they've been through. But anyway, yeah, that's an aspect of it that you could get kidnapped for a group. And so they think that they had someone from the other side and they could send you back and be an infiltrator, but the whole time you were already a double agent. Like, yeah, it's kind of very gruesome, obviously, to have to endure that. I endured that. I went through that same programming, and then also have to do it to other people. And I think that the worst part of this for me, like, coming to terms with the fact that I was tortured and hurt and manipulated and turned into a weapon, that was pretty hard for me to do. But when it comes to the fact that I did that to other people and I perpetuated the system, that's a whole that makes accepting what happened to me seem like a cakewalk. Like that's the part that hurts the most, is the fact that I was such a dark, evil person and did such terrible things. That's the part that's hardest to live with, and those are the memories that are the hardest to sit with. I mean, I do recognize the fact that it was alters that I was programmed to do it, but still at the same time, it doesn't feel very great.
Oh yeah. What has the healing process been like? What sort of assistance have you had?
Well, I've done some work with Matthew Mornian, which has helped me out a lot, and I did some stuff with Joseph Powell where he doesn't like to call it energy work. I don't know what else to call it, but he helped me out and cleared when he did that, it helped me like get some memories back and stuff like that, which I think some group came in and closed it off right away. And in fact, right after I talked to him, I got needle marks on my neck. After the first time I talked to him, they definitely took me like right away. It was like literally in the middle of the day. I don't even know how it happened, but I got needle marks on my neck. And so yeah, the healing process, I guess I really need to do more there. I'm going to be doing a session with Drago when I come to Florida for the conference in July. And yeah, but it's the healing work that's like a whole lifelong journey for me. From what I've seen, the alter integration it's really intense, like, and the way we're doing it right now in this community is really like rudimentary. Like everybody that's doing it is kind of pioneers of it for this day and age, but it can get very advanced. And I've seen in other timelines that we sue the government, we sue all the agencies that did this, and with the help of native tribes who get a lot of their power back through this lawsuit, it's like a joint lawsuit. We start opening up these facilities that are alter integration clinics. And there's actually ET that come in and train like me and some other people to be the first human people to do this. And that's what that's like what my goal is like through disclosure is to eventually hold these agencies accountable, reform the programs or shut them down if they need to be shut down, and open up these clinics where people can integrate their alters and stuff like that. And I think there's some open around the world, but the one that I work at is in Canada near Shoal Lake. That's what happens in other timelines. So, you know, I'm on the very beginning of the healing journey, I guess. A lot of it is just like dealing with the trauma and integrating the alters and the memories and stuff like that. But it's a slow process. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I would also just, you know, to other people watching this who might be in the programs, like, it's definitely okay to take a turtle's pace. You don't want to push yourself too hard and deal with some stuff you're not ready to do and go into psychosis, because that can happen to people and it does happen to people. So you got to be really careful and not push yourself too hard and go through too much trauma too quickly, because it can be debilitating.
Do you feel that these projects are shutting down, though, that this exposure and that there's some positive aspects of the military? Or
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I do think that, like, for instance, like, I know Drago and I work together we're in this thing that I can't really talk too much about, but it's called Alpha Team, and it's some alters of ours and some different people, and basically we're just rebelling and throwing wrenches into the machine in any way we can and trying to shut down these programs pretty much. And so, like, yeah, like, people talk about the white hats. I'm not sure why that's the term that people chose, but the good guys, right, in the military. And yeah, come on, like, common sense dictates that, like, there are people that are gonna find out about this stuff and be like, what the hell? Not me. I don't want to be a part of this. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's just common sense. Like, why do these people keep this private? It's because they know that if they don't, they'll be held accountable, because they're cockroaches. They don't want the light to be shined on them, right? They want to be able to operate in the dark and feel comfy. And as soon as you shine the light on them, they're scared. So we're shining the light on them. I think they're scared. You know what I mean? I don't think they like it. They still feel pretty powerful, obviously, but um, there's so much stuff going on. And I know there's stuff going on where, like, ET are helping out too. Like, I don't remember it all, and I don't think I'm supposed to. You know what I mean? There's an aspect of that where, like, if you want good things to happen, some of the good things need to stay secret. Just like if bad things, you know, with the environment we have, like, we don't want to give other groups intel. But I do know that, like, you know, the concept of a new Earth, like, a lot of people think that might be like some, like, it's all just like a new age thing or like a hypothetical thing, like a mystical thing, and it's not. It's there's groups of ETs and stuff like that who are in meeting with human beings and stuff like that, because we are stepping into our own sovereignty. Like, you have to give consent, and they're finally getting to the point where they're like, okay, it seems like they're starting to say that they want to be in charge of their own stuff, right? So there's a lot of ET groups that are trying to help facilitate that, trying to help us break free from this. And yeah, the concept of a new Earth is like a real thing, but it also is going to take this satanic cult group, Time Lord people, whatever you want to call them, you know, they push back really hard when you try to shut them down. So it's a very meticulous thing. Like, I've heard that like, for instance, like 9/11, good guys were doing stuff then, and then they did 9/11, and they're like, yeah, by the way, those were thermite bombs, and there's a bunch of them all over the world. Like, so if you don't want more 9/11s, then listen to us. So that was the first time where good things were happening, and then the bad guys pushed back. And we're gonna see that again. That's how they work. If you are fighting back against them and winning, they're gonna try to scare the fuck out of you and make you just tuck your tail and go into a corner and give up. But we can't. And I think what we have on our side, like, the thing that we really have on our side, is their group. It requires being a group. It requires organization, because what like what they're doing is very unnatural and wrong, and it goes against, like, any normal person's gut feeling. So they have to create a power structure and a group that intoxicates people into being a part of their group. And the answer to that is basically like, oh, I'm having a brain fart. This might be an alter coming up and doing exactly what I was talking about before. What was I saying, you guys? What was I saying? I was talking about. I literally just, like, it's like I just got here in this room with you guys and I just started talking. What was I talking about? Um,
That's weird how we all just went blank. I find that
did we all just go blank?
I felt like my
no,
mind just went blank,
there's
like I have no
I'm
thoughts.
still processing. I'm processing it also. I'm like, which part? Okay. Um, the groups, how.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is easy. Okay, so it's like the same way whereas like Montauk got taken over through like, okay, so everyone talks about this thing Junior. Basically, the trip chair could manifest whatever you wanted with your thoughts. Like, so you could think of an apple, and an apple would actually appear, and you could take a bite out of it, right? And what we did with the trip chair is we used mirrors to imagine portals. Safest portal you could possibly walk through is a mirror made in that, or a mirror portal made in that manner. It's just like, it's literally like walking through a doorway into that reality. Like, you don't rematerialize or anything like that. It's literally like walking through a fucking doorway. And that's how we would do it. But eventually we realized, like, one of the kids realized, there's a guy who is actually public and he writes books like that. I can't think of his name right now, but he claims to be the guy. He probably is. But basically he realized, like, I can imagine anything I want. I'm going to imagine a monster that wants to kill all these pedo programmers that are, torturing me and stuff. So that's what he did. And everybody took advantage of that. Everybody, like, the mutiny was not planned. Everybody was just like, wait, this is our opportunity to break free. And they broke free and they kicked out Preston and Al, and it became Project Phoenix 3.0 instead of 2.0. It was a whole different project. And we actually started going back in time and fixing the things that Al and Preston and all those guys did, and doing our own thing and building reality in the way that we saw fit, trying to fix things that these Satanists did and stuff like that. It didn't last that long. We got what's the word for, we got pushed out of there basically, and we all had to scatter and run away. But for a while you're going back and fixing things. And what I'm trying to get at is it was what was right. So no one needed to organize. No one needed to have a conversation about, okay, if this happens, are we going to all do it? No, the opportunity was seized because everybody saw the opportunity and it was right. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with the paradigm shifting and with humanity going to a golden age. Is we don't need to have organization. Everybody can see what's right. Everybody can see that, nope, we don't want to be enslaved. We want our own sovereignty. We want to eat good food, good healthy food, and live under the sun and live good lives. It's not that fucking complicated. And that's not what these people, they want us to live in darkness, to be slave. It's just like, no one wants that. So we don't need some crazy organized ritual religion that exists billions of years. That can get shut down instantly by just people just deciding fuck you overnight. That's what the message of the new Star Wars movie is. Star Wars trilogies kind of was, which I thought was weird, because when I watched that, even though I was not woken up when it came out, when I watched The Room at the end, spoiler alert to people who haven't seen it, but how could you're living under a rock if you haven't seen it yet? But at the end where, there's the room full of the Siths, and they're like chanting for the darkness to come. I'm like, man, this is real. I just knew it watching. Like, this shit's real. There's fucking actually rooms like this where people act like, I know this, and now I know it's because I've been in those rooms, right? But like, and the message of that movie is like, everybody's just like, wait, they put out this decree. We own everyone now. Da 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 da. And everybody simultaneously, without needing to talk about it or anything, it's just like, no. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the message, which is weird because Disney is owned by the cabal, and what the heck, you think they'd be trying to put out like the opposite message, but that's what the message is. Like, it's, and I think that's like pretty real. Like these people, they hide because they're scared. They're scared. If they weren't afraid, and if they had such control, such meticulous control, they would just do everything wide out in the open, which is what they worked their way up to. I mean, that's what we saw in World War II with the Holocaust, everything. That's what they want. They want to create that environment again where it's just normal to send people to their graves for being what they are, for thinking different than you are, looking different than you are, or whatever. They want that again, but, I would say that you've kind of, even though there are open Nazis out there in this day and age, like, they're the minority and people think that's gross. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I think we're on a pretty good path. It's just, we can't get, like, too, like, unrealistic about it either. Like, it's not going to be all love and light. Like, we're going to have to literally fight, like, literal battles and literally kill people and stuff. And, like, heads are going to have to roll. Like, it's not just going to be like, all right, everybody, love really hard and the cabal's going to be gone. Like, no, there's going to be battles and stuff and people are going to die and it's not going to be a fun time. But, life goes on, and, out of that, like, the ashes, like the Project Phoenix, like, Out of the ashes will rise a new, better society. That's the only way to do it. Like, because the society that we have right now, everyone's like, oh, this is broken and this is broken and it doesn't work anymore. It's like, no, it's designed that way, you guys. It's designed to be broken. It's designed to not work. So we just need to start all over again.
Right.
Make America Tartaria again is what I always say. Like, you know what I mean? But like, no, for real, like we just need to remember who we are, and that's like the first step. And I don't know, I can't say like exactly how we build New Earth, but the first step is just remembering and just educating people like we're doing right now.
Wow. I mean, this is really dismantling the Matrix, because this is what is operating behind the scenes for sort of this theater or facade of like reality, which isn't really reality, because like you're saying, the cloning centers and Hollywood and altars and people in influential positions. Can you talk to us a little bit about all of that?
Sure.
And that is what you're talking about, like being dismantled with what's being rebirthed because the cloning centers in the Hollywood, and yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, I think that one thing that they would like to do if they could, which I'm afraid of, is another reset. But I think what they're afraid of is if they try, because they have a control system through the internet and everything like that. It's like sending out waves. Like people like us, like part of the reason why we're so psychically dulled is because all these waves and stuff like that in the air, they need to keep them pumping out. So they're afraid to shut everything down because people like us might activate. So they do want to do another reset, but they're afraid to. You know what I mean? So, but as far as like with the Hollywood and the cloning and everything like that, and how they're using that to manipulate and control people, um, it's hard to really start with that. Obviously, like Hollywood is used to, everyone knows that like Hollywood is like it's like the type of wood that they use for wands, and it has to do with the druids, and they're creating reality by showing us what reality is and all this stuff. So it's all like this black magic stuff like that. And there's this ritual aspect to Hollywood where they have and it always has been, where there's like this satanic cult, and there's trafficking of children, and like this stuff with Dan Schneider. If you guys aren't familiar with this, like with that situation, basically Nickelodeon had this producer of shows named Dan Schneider, who it was just literally just child porn put right on Nickelodeon, like so like creeps could also watch it and get off on it, and just it's just like that's like the surface level thing that's being exposed right now. It's like Diddy and how he's doing them what we would do at Montauk, like in the Epstein thing. Like they create a party vibe, an environment where anything goes, and you trust them because they're criminal, right? They're doing coke in front of you and stuff or whatever. So you think, okay, cool, well I can do whatever I want, right? And little do you know, there's a camera fucking everywhere. Every little tiny corner of the house is being filmed. And after the party is over, you get a letter in the mail with pictures and stuff like that saying, hey, we own you now. Like, we fucking own your life. And if you don't listen to us, you're going to prison for a really long time. I don't think you're going to want to not listen to us. And that's a big aspect of like how Hollywood works and how they're controlling people. And, Diddy was friends with like Epstein and stuff like that. And once there's an article bragging about how like it was a public article bragging about how he has like underwater tunnel to his house and stuff like that, which is obviously for the submarines, for the trafficking. Like there's that aspect of it where they're doing sex trafficking, but also what people don't understand is it gets deeper and even more insidious. It's because there's the clones. So I made music and stuff like that at Montauk. So maybe that's how I got on these people's radar, is because I've been part of 2 different time travel projects where I worked on music. And the Dennis Pop is this guy who he worked on Ace of Base, which is, reference to a military base, and stuff like that. Like it's all connected to the programs very blatantly. But Dennis Pop, he's the guy who found Britney Spears in sync, and his protege is Max Martin, who is still alive today. And Max Martin has produced everyone from Post Malone to Sheryl Crow to, I mean, it's just like everyone, Pink, The Weeknd. Just basically name a random pop star and he's probably produced one of their songs or a bunch of their songs. And you know, it's this thing where normal Earth humans are like, this guy is just so crazy. Like every famous pop star ever, like he made their music. What the heck? Da, 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 da. And even publicly, he has this thing called the Church of the Holy Ghostwriter. And so when he got these awards in Sweden, like it's like presented like how they always do with this stuff. Oh, ha ha ha! Church of the Holy Ghostwriter, like it's a big joke. And the joke is supposed to be nobody really knows who Max Martin is, but he produced all these people. But there's another layer to the joke because it's literally ghostwriters. It's literally people who fucking don't exist, right? Making these songs through this time travel program and this cult called Order Templum Nephilim, which means Order of the Temple of Nephilim. And essentially, like, I don't remember where it started, but I remember that when I was a child, I would wake up at this cloning facility in Sweden. This guy would wake me up and like be at the tube and to get me basically when I would wake up, and he'd be like, you know who I am? And he'd be like, my name is Amir. I think his name was Amir, Amir, Amir. And he'd be like, you're the boy who sings or something. Like they called me the boy who sings. And basically they would bring me to their studio, which is called Chiron Studios. And it's called Matador now, now that Max Martin took it over, but it used to be called Chiron Studios. And essentially, Chiron is a Greek god who longed for death. He wanted to die because he was in pain, but he was cursed with being immortal. And that the reason why they call it Chiron is because they have clones of all their different assets, and they use them in these like satanic rituals and kill them over and over again. So Britney Spears, her music, you know, she was a 15, 16-year-old girl in high school, and they made her music very sexual. That's not a theory. Hit Me Baby One More Time is about being hit during sex. I mean, and they literally put her sexual energy into the music. So what they would do is they'd have a gang rape of her, and during orgasm they would harvest the loosh and they would kill her during it. And they would do that to other individuals as well. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female, they do it to males as well. And basically put the energy in the song. And when they're doing that, a red light would go off in the studio. And this is public fact. You can look into it. There's documentaries about Dennis Pop. He called it the hit light. And he said that means the song's a hit. It's going to be huge. It meant literally like hit, like pain, like red rooms, like red lights, like the color red, the red shoe club. Like it's all connected to that shit. Like that's what he was talking about when he was talking about the hit light. That meant they're sending the loosh into the studio. So like work, like record tracks, make stuff. Because that the energy will be in it. Do a vocal track, you know what I mean? The energy will be in the vocal track. Like, and what's crazy is through clone and time travel displacement, Britney could be singing the song all happy-go-lucky while another version of her is being tortured and stuff underneath the studio. And she has no clue. And it was one of those things where 15 is the age of consent in Sweden, and that's when she was brought there. They were always sexual with her. She always sat on their laps and stuff like that. Of course, not on camera, but like once the cameras were off, they were fucking her and stuff like that. And she just thought, well, this is part of being a pop star. You gotta, blow the producer or whatever, which sadly is kind of how it works, as we're seeing with the Me Too movement and stuff. That is kind of how it goes. But it got way darker than that, because they have the clones of her, and it just gets depraved, man. And they have it to where, like, they talked about how Michael Jackson's dad made more money off of trafficking Michael and his brothers and stuff like that than the actual music. And there is that aspect to Britney Spears and NSYNC and all these other different pop acts, as they're using them from these same kind of sex trafficking kind of things. But also there's the cloning aspect, where really, really wealthy people can pay for like time with like Britney Spears. Like, for instance, Stephen Hawking, he famously was obsessed with Marilyn Monroe and had a picture of her on his bathroom wall. That was because he was privy to the cloning centers and he was allowed to go there, and he would repeatedly rape her and stuff. And he just, the guy was real nasty fucking guy.
How in the body that he's in, was that not
cloning center? They could put him in a body that worked.
Right. What the Britney that we see on Instagram, what's that all about?
That's not her. That's CGI. She's, who knows where the hell she is right now. There's been all sorts of things that have shown that it's an AI sprite, that have shown the weird hands and the things that AI get wrong. tons of people have exposed it. That's not even her. She had a wedding recently, and one of her exes who's concerned about her and knows there's weird MK Ultra shit going on went to her wedding with a camera, live streaming to TikTok, and she wasn't even there. She wasn't at her own wedding. So, like, yeah, she's just being pimped out. She's just being perpetually pimped out and used in rituals. And, you know, it's all right in front of you. It's like all right in front of you. Like, she has a music video where she breaks into a cloning center where there's a bunch of clones of hers, and the end of the video is her, like, the place exploding.
I think
There's
it was
also
called Breaking the Ice.
yeah, and then, you know, I ran into a clone of Till Lindemann, which sent me down a rabbit hole. So this, yeah, at the Kit Kat Club here in Portland, which is I believe connected to the Kit Kat Club in Dublin through a portal that's underneath. They use strip clubs a lot in these programs, or just nightclubs, regular old nightclubs, because they're loud and you can talk about clandestine information and no microphone will really be able to pick it up. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But the strip clubs are perfect because, like, no cameras allowed, no, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And in this day and age, anybody can whip out their phone at any time, and you know what I mean. So that's the reason why Till Lindemann, who's the singer for the German rock band Rammstein, a clone of him. It wasn't actually him because he was playing in Mexico that night. So it couldn't have literally, or maybe the clone was the one who played the show. I don't know, but it was him. It was Till Lindemann, and I was just like, this guy looks kind of familiar, but whatever. And I remember just thinking, this guy cares. And like, his energy was big. He had big energy. You noticed him. You know what I mean? And it was weird because he talked to my friend. He's like, hey, I like your jacket. And this was outside. They're smoking a cigarette. And I wasn't there for this conversation, but my friend on the way home, he's like, wait a minute. That was Till Lindemann from Rammstein. We're like, what? What are you talking about? And he showed us the picture and we're like, that was him. What the fuck? And I guess, like, he said, like, I like your coat. Till said that to my friend. He's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, where are you from? And he's like, oh, me, I'm nobody. I'm just a little ghost, which they call us ghosts in these programs, right? So I thought that was weird. And then he was just like, he's trying to sound American, but my friend could tell he was German. Like, he's been to Europe and he can tell when Germans are trying to sound like English, you know? And he's just trying to get him to slip. So he's like, yeah, I've been to Europe. I've been to Hamburg. And he knows that bothers Germans. That was his, like, bait. And Till was like, oh, it's pronounced Hamburg. It's Hamburg, not Hamburg. They hate it when you do that, right? And he's like, I got you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you are German. And but the whole thing was weird, and that was just really the conversation. He didn't think about it until later. He knew something was going on. And it was just so bizarre. And then I started looking into Rammstein more because I was like, okay, this is weird. And they have this music video, it's called Adieu. And it's the same thing as that Britney Spears one. Well, first there's like the red laser going to space, which they have that in Antarctica and other different military installations. It's so you can, like, instantly communicate across time and space. It's like a way faster form of communication to use these lasers. So I think that's what that was in the video. And then they break into a cloning room full of their clones and kill them. And that's the whole music video, basically. And Rammstein is also a U.S. Air Force base on German soil. I just found that out yesterday. It blew my mind. Like, there's so many connections. It's just, you know, like, it just blows my mind. So, like, yeah. But the clones is like, you know, they have a whole racket where they can wake you up down there, and they can use you for stuff, and, you know, they can use you to write songs or whatever. And so I was used for that manner. But I also, like, there's the thing where they can wake you up in a room. Like Britney Spears, I know she wakes up in a room and then, like, a guy will come in there and he paid however much money to be able to spend an hour with her, and he can do whatever he wants. He can kill her, he can have sex with her, he can just sit there and talk with her. It's up to him. But, like, or her. But, like, that's the thing. That's like a service that they provide. Like, and they have so many people, like George Washington or something like that. Like, you could talk to George Washington. I don't know if they literally have him, but they have an interesting list where you can be like, wait a minute, so I can talk to Napoleon Bonaparte? That sounds interesting. And these people have more money than God, so they got bored of spending it the normal way, like a nice champagne and a nice vacation with their family. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way they spend their money. Is literally, these people have billions of dollars. Like, they're doing this kind of stuff. And Elon Musk knows all about it. He's involved. He's participated. I've seen him and I know him. I've literally interacted with him in the flesh. But the crazy thing with Centurion, and so the story with Max and Dennis, it's kind of crazy because, like, they brought me to Chiron, which is in Stockholm, Sweden, and I was a kid, and what I would do is I would sing the melodies, and they would start the songs with the melodies, and they would build them. So it's not like I wrote the whole song. They had like a team, but they would like they even talk about it in the interviews. We always start with a melody. Melody is king, and I would be the one who would start the melodies, or someone else. It wasn't always me, but like but they would do it in this ritualistic way where they would kill the people who made the music and stuff. It's crazy. It's so psychotic, but it's real. And that was one aspect of me working for him. But then another thing that happened to me, and this is crazy, man. So it's gonna be a little bit of a long story, but I hope you guys can handle it. So I was living with this guy who calls himself Ghost Effects, and he is a music producer, and we were making music together. We had a falling out. We don't talk anymore. Music is a touchy thing that happens sometimes between band members and stuff like that, famously, as everyone knows. But basically, like, I didn't remember this until years later, but I just remember like one day, like I just was like telling him, I was like, this is so stupid having to sit here and use this fucking laptop to make music. You realize that? I'm like, I'm used to my brain being able to connect to the computer. I'm used to being able to, like, if I want a Moog synthesizer, just punching it in on a computer and it just appearing. Like, I'm used to being able to walking through walls and stuff. Like I was just like, this is so limiting. This is so insulting. This existence we're living. But I didn't have any context. Like, I was just like, he was like, dude, you're freaking out, man. And now I know exactly what happened. What happened was we got taken and we woke up on this like ship, and we were both on the ground, zip tied to these like posts or chairs or something like that, and we're kind of like drugged. And this ship was like a Boba Fett kind of looking ship, like it was tall, and it dropped us off at this weird. It was like on like the edge of like a very, not a mountain, but like a valley, and the top of the valley kind of thing, you know. And it was like the circle building, and they brought us there, and they took us out of the handcuffs and stuff like that once they realized we were chilled out. And there was just a woman at this counter and this cafeteria, full cafeteria, but it was empty. You know what I mean? Like there's tables and stuff everywhere, but it was just Dennis and Max sitting at one of the tables. And Ghost was like, "Oh, I gotta use the bathroom. I gotta pee. Where's the bathroom?" And they're like, "The bathroom's over there." And he went and used the bathroom. So I'm sitting there with Dennis Pop and Max Martin, whom I don't really know. I'm like, why am I here? And they're just like, just wait for your friend. And so like he came back, and they're like, "Do you know who we are?" And we're like, "No." My friend Ghost is like, "I know who you are. You're Max Martin." And he's like, yeah, I'm Max Martin. You know what we do? And we're like, yeah, music industry people. And he's like, yeah, well, he basically explained to us that like we were really good at making music, and we had this great thing going on, but we were never going to get famous, and no one was ever going to know shit about us. And that we could be part of this program where we could make songs, the studio there on that planet. And it was wild. He's like, we can see through time and space, like, and we can put your songs in different time periods on different planets. And we're like, why are you doing this? Why? Like, to make a shit ton of money, to make insane amounts of money. Like, what, the same reason anybody does anything, right? Like, you guys don't get it. Like, you have a potential that's so great that you that's not going to get tapped into unless you do this. And so we're like, all right, sign us up. Like, we're literally, that was our dream, to make music. And this guy's like, hey, you want to make music? We're like, yeah. You know what I mean? So we got brought to the studio, and I was brought I think there were 4 times that I was brought to the studio. Each time I did not remember the other time. It was new to me. So they would wipe my memory, and I'd get brought there again. I guess they liked having a fresh product. I don't know, dude. But I know that I was there at least 4 times, and one of the times was with Ghosts. Other times I was there totally alone, but this time I was with this dude, Ghost. And they just like, Dennis like showed us this white powder stuff, and like he brought it out, and we're like, what, are you trying to party, man? He's like, well, you can party. The computer, there's a replicator, any drug you wanted, it can make. And he's like, you know the best part? You can wipe your own memory if you want to, so you're not addicted to it anymore. You can even use this machine to purge it from your system, so you won't have the physical, like you can just do with any drug you want and never get addicted to it. We're like, wow, that's awesome. He's like, yeah, it'll help your creative process. That's why we do this. But this stuff, this specific stuff, it helps connect your brain to the computer. We're like, what? He's like, yeah, it connects your brain to the computer. Try it out. So we did, and he was kind of right, but I think that I could have connected to the computer probably without this drug. What it ended up being is we got addicted to this drug, like heavily addicted to it. Like if you didn't have it, you'd get sick, like convulsing, like feeling like you're gonna die. And the reason why is because they didn't have guards outside there with guns that said, "Hey, you can't leave." There was literally a train we could get on and just leave whenever we wanted to. They kept us there with the drug. This computer was the only thing that could make it. That was there in the studio, and it could only make so much at a time. And we needed it, and we couldn't. It would dispense it frequently, like 3 times a day or something like that. And if you weren't by it and didn't get it, it's bad, right? You don't want that feeling. So that's how they kept us there, was with this fucking drug that we could only get there. And I remember Kanye West being there. I remember Post Malone being there. I remember Janis Joplin and David Bowie being there. I remember which they didn't work on music with me. I don't remember. They're just there when I got there to congratulate me.
And they were
stuff.
both Montauk, right?
Yeah, they're both Montauk. But yeah, I remember I worked on music with like all sorts of like famous like people, and like, you know, like the Donda album. Some of those songs were worked on Centurion and stuff like that. I'm not sure which ones. And it's kind of weird because he didn't even release the full album, I guess. And it's like you can only get the demos of a lot of it. But that album has to do with him sacrificing his mom to be part of the record industry. It's pretty dark shit. Like, I don't know if people realize that. Kanye has openly admitted to the fact that he sacrificed his own mother to be famous. And that's why, like, during his Donda tour, he had a literal actual replica of his house during the tours that he burned. Like, there's so much occult stuff going on when it comes to that man. And Young Lean as well. Like, I don't know if I worked on songs with him, but I just know that he's friends with Kanye, and like he's part of this whole thing as well. I'm guessing that they also steal songs from him and stuff like that. Like, he's one of the people that they use in the same way they used me. But like, yeah, Young Lean even talks about how everybody knows, if they're a fan of him, that he went crazy in Miami and like ended up in the mental hospital. But what people don't know is him and his girlfriend got a bloody nose at the same time. She was in Sweden, and that's what set him off. And he had alters. He was altering out. He had new personalities. He's totally in the programs. But I'm kind of going on a tangent now.
Gosh. How many do you feel coexist in the entertainment and music industries that aren't a part of this, the projects or the cloning or the
They exist. Like okay, like an example, I would say there's this guy like Loop Daddy, Mark Riboulet. He's just like a YouTube guy that I'm pretty sure he lives off his music, and he's pretty famous, and he plays pretty big festivals. And I genuinely think that guy just use the internet to get famous. But is Mark Riboulet being invited to the Grammys? Is he being put on TV? You know what I mean? So there are people in the industry who are totally organic, self-made people. That's definitely a thing. Like, it's not all just MK Ultra music. But if you're at the top and you're being seen and you're being put on award shows and you're being put on TV and you're getting cameos and movies and stuff like that, you are part of the cult, period.
So something obviously happened with Taylor Swift recently to boost her to this next level.
Well, I mean, she does look scaringly similar to the daughter of the founder of the Church of Satan, Zena LaVey.
Antoine LaVey, yeah.
Yeah, she looks a lot like her. I don't know if she's an actual clone or an alter or what. Like, I won't claim it, but you know, it's well known. Like, even with like the Laurel Canyon, there's a book on this, and it's talked about a lot about how basically most of the pop stars, they're made by the military. They're, you know, Jim Morrison's dad was military. Frank Zappa's dad was military. Jimi Hendrix was in the Air Force. All connected to the military. Like, all these people have weird military connections, and it's not a coincidence. Also, like Decca Records, who was the ones who were printing the vinyl for the Rolling Stones. You want to know what they're using the money that they made off the Rolling Stones for? Making radar for war. So like the music industry, like Decca Records was directly connected to the military industrial complex, and they were using it as a way to fund their war efforts. And that's MK Ultra programs like Montauk made a lot of money off the music industry. And it's a way for them to A, control people, and B, make a lot of money.
I heard Neil Peart from Rush had a major connection into all this too. I mean,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, it
ton.
doesn't surprise me at all.
Drago, what are your thoughts?
Man, Arkheim, when you was talking about making music and stuff, I had an epiphany for the first time, and it kind of freaked me out because I realized for the first time in my life, I've never thought about this, but I make music too. And me and you are intimately connected to the programs and the ops we've been on. And it makes me think, is my obsession with making music, did it come from that? Because this is what I make my music on, Pioneer DDJ-SX. And that's what I used to do before I left Texas. And all I would do is make music, and I used to be a DJ. And one of the reasons I left Texas was to get away from the programming. And the moment I left, I never did music again. I have not touched my controller since 2015. That is insane. But you were talking about how they basically, these ghostwriters make all this music. The first time I heard that was from Donald Marshall about 15 years ago. And he was talking about how they've had him since a kid, and he was known as the Music Man, and all these celebrities basically use his music. And I was realizing one of my favorite beats, songs you make is Martian Sandworms. And I've watched that video of Martian Sandworms, I shit you not, at least 30 times. And
Thanks, man.
I love it. I love the way you compose it, and you use the SP404 MK2 and the OP1 synthesizer keys, and it's unique. And I'm just noticing a crossover with like The Weeknd and some of these other people. It's almost like it sounds like your sound was
Yeah. Yeah, no, that I made Blinding Lights. Okay, so listen to the song Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, and then listen to the song Forever Alone by Break into Pieces, or Break Everything into Pieces. It's called Forever Alone. Look it up. They sound so similar, like the same person wrote them. That's because the same fucking person did write them. It was me. Like, I wrote those songs. That's my fucking sound. I even know what Blinding Lights is about. It was about, I was saving up, because Centurion existed outside the studio. There are people living on the planet, right? Like, and it was in the future of the planet, so it's a breakaway elite. It's only like famous, like wealthy people live there. And I knew where this girl that I had romantic stuff with in the programs was. She was in like this tower in the city there. And like I said, there's a train right there. I could just get on it if I wanted to. Okay. And that song, I wrote it after I got back from the studio after this incident. Basically, I had a little jar, and I started saving a little tiny pinch of that white powder every day, a little tiny pinch, until I had it, and it took months to fill up this jar. And at first, it made me really sick, but I knew that if I had some of the powder, I'd be all right, and I just had to push through it. And I did. I pushed through it until I needed less, so I could take that little bump every time away and not feel anything from it. And eventually I had this big fucking jar full of the powder. I was like, all right, I'm tired of being here totally fucking alone. I'm gonna fucking get on this train, and I'm gonna go see this girl. And so I got on the train. I got to this underground tunnel where there are these little white cars, electric cars down there, and I opened one of them up, and I got in, and I started driving, and I was driving down this like highway, and you could see the city in the distance. And this drug, I was like tripping basically because I had so much of it. I was doing more than I normally did and stuff, and everything was all colorful and shit. I'm like, whoa, holy shit. That's what this song's about. It's literally about something that happened on a fucking another planet. And I was like trying to drive there to her because I wanted to be with her. I was so alone. Like I wanted to make love to her, frankly, which she would have welcomed. You know what I mean? Like, she would have been happy to see me, and she would have been all about it.
That's Sandra.
And it wasn't Sandra, a totally different person. There's like 3 or 4 different people in the programs that I've been, actually, there's like 5 or 6 at least people that I've been like married to or been girlfriend, boyfriend with or whatever. There's more than one, but this was anyway. Yeah, so I was like on the way there, but then I was driving down the highway, and the electric car just stops. It just stops because something was like, saw that I was in it and I wasn't where I was supposed to be, like the computer, and it just stopped in the middle of the road. And I'm in this giant like highway in like the sky, basically, like it's like one of those, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to walk back. there's no way I'm gonna be able to walk full. It's gonna take me like 3 days to get to just anywhere. Like, and well, then one of those black Boba Fett type things, like the one that I got brought to the studio in that one time, showed up, and they're like, you're, like, I can't remember what they said, but they're basically like, you're in violation of da 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 da. You're not supposed to be here. Put your hands up. So I put my hands up. These guys came up, and they're in black suits, black masks. Like, you couldn't. No.
Was that temporal authority?
No, it wasn't. It was just the cops on Centurion. Literally, just the cops on Centurion. And they did the same thing where they zip tied me to the back of a thing, and they brought me to a station, and they basically just called like my handlers, I guess, and they're just like, what should we do with this guy? And they just brought me back to the studio, and they're just like, look, you didn't really do anything wrong, but you're not supposed to leave. Like, so like you kind of did do something wrong. Like, it was never told that you weren't supposed to leave, but come on, you knew you weren't supposed to leave, right? And they're like, just don't do that again. Next time you will get in trouble. And that was it pretty much. And then I made Blinding Lights after that. That's when I made it, and that's what it's about.
So I'm noticing a ton of these celebrities that are super, super famous. A lot of the people that's Billboard #1 spot or number 10. I've heard on the inside that you're not allowed to be on Billboard unless you're an asset, because the Billboard is basically controlled by the programs, and that's how they put their assets into the public eye. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna basically unpack about 30 minutes worth of conversation we've had, because there's so much I want to talk about. And what I've been doing is I've been following these celebrities intimately behind the scenes, and it's easy to identify who's in Monarch. Every single one. You got a lot of your information from the Vigilant Citizen, just like I did. It helps you train yourself into the prototype and the blueprint of how they do all this. So I've noticed that there's a theme with these celebrities. They all take part in satanic visualization in their videos. They all take part in when they do public broadcasting. So like Taylor Swift, she practices witchcraft during her shows. Like she uses witch imagery, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've heard from people in the programs is Taylor Swift has been in the program since she was a child. And more than likely, when we die, our natural death in this life, when we're however old, you're probably going to see that Taylor Swift is still touring, just like Fleetwood Mac did, just like all the greats did. It turns out all these famous celebrities and all these musicians, I've often asked myself this question. Some of these musicians are worth $100 million, $500 million. What's the point of touring your entire life without stopping? And it makes you think that these people have a lifelong contract and they're only out when they're dead. And what we physically have seen in the programs was when these celebrities try to kill themselves, if you succeed, they just punish you. And they'll bring you right back, and they'll kill someone that you care about, like the whole Britney Spears thing. Like, Arkheim, you were on Britney's team, and so was my twin that I was twinned with. I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I remember her. Like, I don't remember the part you talked about how later on in my life I was like kind of like a handler for her, I guess, which I believe, 100% believe.
I wouldn't say a negative handler. You were there to protect her, and so was she. Like, you both had emotional investments in her because you said she kind of took care of you as a child.
Yeah, so what it was
you kind of was assigned to her to help take care of her. And the day she shaved her head.
Who? Oh, Brittany. Okay.
Yeah, so when they would bring me to that studio, so the guy would ask me every time, "Do you remember when they activate me in the cloning tube?" And I'd be like, "No." And then he found that so entertaining. But I just remember that when I would meet Brittany, she'd say, "Oh, hey, I can't remember what my name was. Maybe it was Jacob. I don't know." But she said, "Oh, Jacob, it's good to see you." And I'd be like, "Hi, how do you know my name?" And she'd be like, "Because we were together yesterday. What do you mean?" And I'd be like, "No, I've never met you before in my life." And at first she thought I was joking. And then eventually she realized, no, I really didn't know her, and they're wiping my memories. And of course, she slowly started realizing, oh, this is really bad. Like, over time, like a frog in a pot of boiling water. Like, it's once you realize it's boiling, it's too late. You can't get out, that kind of thing. That's what it was like for her. And I want something that I'll mention with her, for her and NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, they were given fake identities, new names, new parents that aren't their real parents and other handlers, yada yada yada. That was done through Disney when they signed those contracts with Disney because their parents agreed to do it. But they didn't realize that their parents didn't realize when they're signing these kids over with these contracts and these non-disclosure agreements is they were literally not going to be part of their lives ever again, and that these kids would get fined and the parents could get fined from them for contacting each other. They control who you're seen in public with. There's certain contracts with like Justin Timberlake. He has to wear, his eyes aren't blue. He has to wear blue eye contacts or something like that. And if he doesn't wear them, he'll get fined. Like stuff like that. Like they're literally like so meticulously controlled. And that's why Britney Spears shaved her head that one time. Well, it's like everyone's like, whoa, what a crazy bitch. Are you stupid? How can people be that dumb? Like she very obviously has every single aspect of her life being controlled, and she's saying, fuck you. Like how dumb do you have to be to not be able to see that?
So many people have shaved their head though, and they didn't get all the attention that she did for doing it. I thought,
but that's because she's their classic, Barbie sex model that needs to always look so feminine and so perfect and so such a shock that you know what I mean. That's the way our public society looked at her. I mean, she was on talk shows with these older men, and they're asking her about her boobs and stuff like that. She's still a teenager, like. That's what she was, like out in the open. She was a sex object, and that's what they're marketing her as, and they knew it. And it goes deep. It goes deep. Like I said, you can pay to spend time with her in these cloning centers and stuff like that.
And she's extremely damaged. I watch her switch alters on a regular basis live. It's insane how easy it is to get her to switch alters. And I noticed that there's some people put around her. Whenever she's about to slip into an altar or she's starting to shift, she has a handler near her that whispers something to her, and then she comes right back.
Yeah, another one that I'd like to bring up, just because she's in the spotlight right now, is Amanda Bynes. Now,
totally.
Other people remember Amanda from the programs. I remember Jeanette McCurdy, who was also, I remember her. She was at Montauk, I'm pretty sure. But I'm pretty sure Amanda Bynes is Montauk. Like I said, I don't think I interact with her personally, but other people did because I've talked to others who remember her. But what I do remember is there's an alternate reality where, there's Zeppelins instead of airplanes. Airplanes are usually just to extradite things and make things get places faster, and they're pretty expensive. Most people, even though it takes longer to travel by airship, it's like a place. Like the airship is a place. Like these airship companies will make it like the airship itself is a destination. So on your way to Europe, you're not just sitting in a chair. Ugh. You're like doing stuff. You're bowling. They got swing, gambling. They even have like casino like ones and stuff. So in the alternate reality, there's Zeppelins. And in that reality, during the vaudeville era of comedy, Amanda Bynes was famous. She was like huge. And like Charlie Chaplin type famous were forever stapled into comedy. And her impact on comedy was like huge. And so in this reality, what Disney is doing as a satanic organization is they're scooping up a lot of these super talented, they got the weight to them, assets, you know what I mean? That they're scooping them up, and they're showing people who remember the alternate reality. Yes, we know exactly what we're doing. We know who Amanda is. We know because guess what award we just gave her? It's a Zeppelin. It's a fucking airship. Like they're literally showing
the logo for Nickelodeon is
and the Kids Choice Award is literally a Zeppelin. It's all those producers and stuff like that being like, yes, we do know. We know exactly what we're doing. And this whole thing right now with the Quiet on Set coming out, and it's being painted as so if people aren't familiar, it's a documentary exposing Nickelodeon and specifically
really
Dan Schneider, and that's watering it down big time, man. They don't even talk about the fact that Brian Peck, who was the guy who sexually assaulted Drake Bell, okay, this was left out of the documentary, and I can't help but think it had to have been on purpose because it's too juicy and too much of a clickbait kind of thing for them to leave it out. You know what I mean? For them to not do it on purpose as like damage control. But basically, Mr. Peck had a pen pal relationship with John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy,
that's right,
the serial killer. And there was a moment where one of the child actors was like, he had this room dedicated to Planet of the Apes, but in that room there's also a clown painting that John Wayne Gacy had up there, and there's a little note underneath it to my good friend Brian Peck from John Wayne Gacy.
And He would
And
even
they,
do them in prison.
yeah, it's crazy, man. I didn't know that, but yeah. And so what's even crazier with this is this kid. He sees this, he's like, oh man, for real? Even though he was like 10 years old, he was intelligent enough to be like, I gotta show my parents and stuff this. Like, so they called in all these other people, and they're just like, yeah, this is a painting of John Wayne Gacy's, and he was just all the parents were fine with it. Like Brian Peck was totally fine with showing. Like that's MK Ultra mind control right there. Like how do you? I would instantly be like, yeah, my son and or daughter is never gonna act on this or do anything near you ever again. Like that's what I would do for a parent. But no, they're all fine with it. He showed them. And what people need to understand about John Wayne Gacy is he was part of a much larger organization called the Ripper Crew, who it was actually a group it was a satanic group where they had different houses where they're torturing and killing kids and stuff like that. And John Wayne Gacy's houses was just one of the houses, and he took the fall for the organization. So that was just the John Wayne Gacy was just one of, I think there's 13 members of the Ripper Crew or something like that. So like yeah, like that, and that's so it's not like just a coincidence that Brian Peck is friends with John. No, he's a Satanist, and he knows John Wayne Gacy's a Satanist. Same thing with Daniel Schneider. This guy, yeah, of course he's a creep that likes little girls and their feet, but he's also a Satanist. Like there's this it's not just like, oh, you gave these guys power and they took advantage of it because they're creeps. No, it's all literally designed to have creeps be the people in power and to not, dude, Brian Peck went to prison for like a little bit. I don't even, and then he got right out and started working on Zack and Cody for Disney.
Yeah,
What the
Nickelodeon just
fuck?
rehired him. It's kind of like the movie Powder. You guys remember the movie Powder?
I don't remember that.
That was a really good movie. I think it was early 2000s. And basically, the guy who directed it was a pedophile, and he had just got out of prison. And the movie studios rehired him knowing he was a convicted pedophile, and they have him write the movie Powder and direct the movie Powder. And Powder is about a movie about his experience while in prison being a pedophile. And the movie is externalized as a kid with powers that is seen as an outsider, and everybody always fights him and he's always separate. And it was his first person point of view of what it was like to be stigmatized while in prison and being called a rapist and a pedophile. And the thing that sucks is it was an amazing movie. But these movie studios, that's their MO. These people will be prosecuted for pedophilia, and it will not prevent the studios from hiring them. It's happened so many times. Like, look what just happened with Harvey Weinstein. His conviction just got overturned.
Really?
It just got overturned. Just like today, I found that they're saying that Britney's now going through some stuff where she's about to lose all of her money. So imagine.
Yeah, so it's just look at this conservator bullshit.
Exactly.
Conservator shit. Like,
Legal
come on,
slavery.
man. Like, dude, like that is just so like that's just a contract that is just proving to you that these people are their handlers.
Yeah, it's
Like,
all CIA ran. All these people in Nickelodeon, all these pedophiles are being protected by the CIA. But
yeah, and
laugh
it's
that. You don't think Nickelodeon knew that? You don't think that the top people at Nickelodeon themselves are pedophiles? How many children? Think about this. How many children celebrities that are now adults, percentage wise, how many of them have not said they were raped? How many of them have not said that this was a normal thing to do? And I believe that a lot of them just won't talk about it. So let's talk about everyone in the original Mickey Mouse Club. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's number 2, helped run the Mickey Mouse Club. Like, she was responsible for all that. And one thing that people talk about is Epstein. They talk about Diddy. No one's talking about Hugh Hefner in the Playboy Mansion. Hefner was also running a honeypot. And this
yeah,
this
and
is why the
he's
government, when he died, the United States government came in, they demolished the grotto, they went underground, covered up all the tunnels, and then suddenly you start figuring out during this Me Too campaign era that there's all these underground tunnels that goes to all these famous celebrity houses, including Diddy's. So what I think is going to happen is everybody's focused on P. Diddy right now. I don't think he's going to be taken down. I think that the CIA and the government came in and they removed a lot of evidence of their own Mossad oversight, because a lot of this honey trap stuff is being ran by Israel through Black Cube. And Black Cube is in charge of watching Britney Spears. There's actual Mossad agents that are posing as paparazzi to always be around these celebrities, and they are given these activation codes, and they activate a lot of these celebrities, and they're using it as a form of blackmail. So imagine that you're a Mossad agent, you're special forces, and your cover job is a paparazzi. That means you're allowed to go anywhere with a license, and you follow all these celebrities, keeping them in line. You follow where they go. If they're breaking their programming, if they're doing things they're not supposed to, if they're doing drugs, they're having all kinds of weird sex, all of it's recorded, and they use it against everyone. Like it's pretty hardcore what's actually happening, man.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like for me, like I have memories of we ran there was an entire operation that we ran, which it had a name. It was like Operation Night Beam or some shit like that. I can't remember what it was. But basically we opened up nightclubs all around the world, like really nice nightclubs. And what we would do is we'd create a party environment at these nightclubs and get
At the
people.
asylum?
Yeah, one of them, yeah. They weren't all called the asylum. But I'm seeing like light beings and stuff dance around Laura. Well, no, maybe that's just like a literal fly or something. I don't know. There's stuff dancing around you, but anyway, yeah, the Asylum nightclub, which they are starting to scrub it off the internet since they started talking about it. Like I used to be able to find more on it actually, and I'm finding less and less every time I Google it. But it's basically the Asylum nightclub. There's one right in England, there's one in Dublin, and there's one in Budapest, and there might have been more as well. And we had a mansion nearby that had the after party. So the asylum was just how we found people, and it was prestigious, and people want to get invited in, and you can actually find pictures of the asylum, you know, online. And the logo of the Brighton Asylum was a gate, which is the gate to the mansion, and it says the asylum. And the painting on the walls was like blood splatter. Straight up, dude. It's like splattered blood on the wall. So it's really in your face. And yeah, everybody wanted to get invited to these after parties where anything goes. And people knew that. It was just crazy. And then after, of course, we had cameras everywhere. There wasn't a single tiny little corner in the house that wasn't bugged. And you know, after the parties, you know, they'd get something in the mail, or someone would show up, or someone would call them, and we just like, look, we own you now, and we're going to tell you what to do, and you're going to listen to us. And it always worked. The biggest problem we ever ran into is they would just kill themselves. That would be bad for us, but normally they would just listen to us and do whatever we wanted to. And that's how all these operations work. They're all the same thing.
When you say kill yourself and all this death, they bring you back to life, right?
We could go back in time and make it so the people wouldn't kill themselves if we wanted to, but these would be people that like weren't necessarily in the programs, but were just key players that we wanted to be able to control. So that would be an easy way to do it. There's also something that we could do it like we would do that if we found people that we didn't have anything to do with programs, but we wanted to control. We would try to do some sort of blackmail type thing so we could control them. And you know, it would normally work. But another thing we could do is we could go back in time and delete people from history. We could just make it so they're never born and stuff. We would do stuff like that. But yeah, if you're somebody who, you know, we needed to control you and you killed yourself, if it really was like we could still go on and do our mission without you, then we would just do that. But if we really needed you, we would rewind time and make sure you didn't kill yourself. We've done stuff like that.
Is there some power of like God or something in the universe that protects certain individuals?
Yeah.
That are that they just can't get
Yep.
that?
Yeah. There was stuff we just couldn't do. Yep. There's stuff that we just couldn't do. One of the things that I remember is we would try to go into the 2700s There's like this AI supercomputer that controlled Earth, and we would try to go there and implant ourselves in that timeline and change the future, and it would never work. It just wouldn't work. We just couldn't do it. The
Is this
AI
the
would
positive AI?
what?
Was this the positive AI timeline?
Positive is a strong word for this thing.
Was it the one that was acting more as an overseer?
Yeah, it wasn't malevolent. It's just like it also controlled everything and very much wanted its own control and made sure. And in this future that we could be heading towards it, we could not be. The future's not written, you know. We're in a very much so a period where lots of realities could be potential realities, right? But basically in this future, World War III happened, and it was so bad that human beings were like, let's just let an AI decide which resources go where and everything, and oversee things, and that worked. And over time, it just controls more and more and more until eventually it's like, all right, it tells people who to sleep with, who to get married to, what jobs they should work. It delegates everything until their society just isn't really human anymore. In fact, it's what the sound is. You know the song "Sound of Silence" by Simon and Garfunkel? That is about the 2700s, and the Time Soldier wrote that went to that possible future. It wasn't me. I didn't write that song. Great tune, whoever wrote it, but it wasn't me. I don't know who wrote it. I just know for a fact that that's about that future, and it's a Time Soldier that wrote it because it's, you know, then the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, people talking without speaking. They're all telepathic. They didn't speak. Like, so it was like eerily quiet. And yeah, that's the potential future that we could be, you know, doesn't necessarily have to happen, but it could.
You know what, man? You just awakened some memories of me in high school. And I remember at the age of 17, I was a published poet. Got my first poem in a book. And I realized I can write lyrics. Like today, I'm like I feel like I'm a word magician. Like I can put deeply emotional stuff down on paper with hardly any thought. And it's just making me think my music connection at 17 years old. I remember 17 is when they took me to Carswell Air Force Base under cover of going to the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. And for the longest time, that's where my memory started. But it took me years to find out that I actually went back further than that. But it's just crazy to hear you talk about this, and I'm getting flashbacks of stuff that I didn't even remember to this moment. If you actually rewatch this video, before I started talking, my whole body just changed and I went introspective, and I'm like, holy crap. So like,
You want to know the worst part about this whole music stealing thing? Is they'll make songs in the here and now, and they'll rewind time to take them. Like I have a music studio right here. I make music. They steal my music that I make at home. So I can't even just make my own like music. Like if it's good enough, they'll just steal it from me. So
they just have constant access to you then?
Yeah, my phone. They're right here. They call them tags. This is called a tag. The people in the underground, they don't call these cell phones. They call them tags.
yeah, so basically this is why they watch us constantly. This is why I cover the front camera of my phone, the rear camera of my phone, and I know that all the audio at all times is being recorded and listened to live.
But what about like a Faraday bag or just shutting it all off and just...
That doesn't stop remote viewing.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to talk about earlier, Arkheim, since you brought it up, this is the first time that I'm ever speaking about this publicly and saying that I am verifying that there's stuff happening behind the scenes that you and I are a part of, and Arkheim is in my unit, and we both we both do time travel operations. And what happened was we started.
You're my superior.
I didn't want to be egotistical anywhere, have someone take it that way, but yes, I'm his commander in the unit. But
it's an honor to serve you. You don't have to feel bad.
Thank you, man. We've been through a lot. So there was a moment that happened, and me and my unit and a couple of other units started going back in time to make changes with stuff, and we started realizing that they would send people to recorrect all the shit we were doing. So what we had to do is we had to covertly go into different timelines making different changes. And you can see that, you can say that each change we made is a grain of sand that forms a beach. And in order to form that beach, you've got to go to the central point of that sand's creation in that moment. So Peter the Insider, he's confirmed that I'm part of a group called Merge, which is called the Monarch Umbrella Refugee Group. And it's a group of monarch children who went through the most torture, the most trauma, and we were the most experimented on. And I basically had enough and I snapped. And I brought team members from different timelines and from this timeline in, and we've been going in kind of behind the scenes, kind of making changes. So it's really tough, Laura, when you asked, are there white hats? Are there these good guys coming in to do this stuff? Yes. The issue is they keep reformatting all the changes we're making. And it's getting to the point where we have to identify who made the change after we did it. Then we have to go back in time and possibly remove them from the position they were in that got them to be able to help change these things. So it's a very convoluted thing. And my trauma twin that I was twinned with in the same programs as Arkheim was, Matthew Mornian was part of the same group. And me, Matthew, and Arkheim were in the same military bases. We were all in the same DUMS. We're all part of the same program. And I'm realizing that a lot of people in the programs, we became healers. We became podcast hosts. And a lot of us don't remember these memories, but I'm realizing that there's this large kind of coincidence where
These are our whistleblower altars, right? Is that what you're getting to? That we did this, that we put ourselves in these lives, that to do this?
What I'm saying is, for me specifically, I made an agreement from a higher space to come in and incarnate into MK Ultra, into the worst program, go through the absolute worst, because I am responsible. Let's just say I'm a creator and I help create other dimensions. And what I come from is a non-physical existence. And I've told you about it. It's called the Golden Phoenix Fire. And this is why I told you I paint the Phoenix makeup on my face when I'm in my armor. And I showed you the wings and the tail coming down my face in my SSP armor. And basically that armor is basically, I'm trying to awaken people when I go to these shows. And like you say, we're all called ghosts. This is why the leather jacket I wear at all the shows, it's usually a black leather jacket. And on my patch, it says Recon Ghost. I'm trying to awaken everybody because this is the time where I believe this is the defining moment. This is what we identified in time. We had to make the changes here and now and awaken each other here and now with these memories, because we found out a lot of these things didn't work because they keep sending people after us when we make these changes. And it got to the point where people like you and I, we're not just being used, we're using the program against them. And we're doing things, part of it is remote viewable, part of it's not. Because what we did was, I found a way, and I'm not going to say what it is. I'll never speak about it publicly. I will never speak about it privately, because that moment could be remote viewed. But we found a way to hack the timeline where we can install almost like a pocket timeline. And let's just say we can have that pocket timeline and the changes we made sit there, and it's waiting to be activated. So a lot of the changes we're making aren't officially done yet, and we're just waiting for the moment to happen. So this is the reason why me and you eventually came into contact, and we thought it was random, and then we started to figure out that we're a lot more intimately linked than we thought we were. Because, Laura, this is the time. This is why when you mentioned to me that we should start our own podcast last year, that was the moment for me. That was the moment that I was shown. And I told you, Laura, about this probably maybe a year ago, that when I first started doing QHHT, the first year, one of my sessions, I was shown that Laura and I would have this podcast together. and it became really freaking big. And we created a change from within the system. And they ended up messing with us during this change, but this was the time to do it. And it was the only time it would actually work. And none of this is a coincidence. Like me and Laura, it may seem on the outside that we met each other randomly and we've been in each other's lives off and on for a decade, but like this was the plan. We're all soldiers in this war, and it's our team and the other team we're involved with that's making this actually happen.
Do you identify with like the bird people at all?
Yes, I'm actually I know you come from your soul evolution, you come from the avian people. I'm surrounded by birds because I know you don't know this, but birds represent portals. That's why you were brought into the portal time program, because your energy signature, when you came in, you was pre-identified the moment you stepped into the portal in your incarnation, the moment you were born. They knew your signature and the powers you had. So they used those against you. The moment you physically stepped through the portal, the physical incarnation of the Matrix, you were already pre-identified. The difference is, I haven't confirmed this with you yet. I need to put you under with QHHT, but I volunteered for this. I wasn't just randomly abducted by the military. I made an agreement to have this happen. And what they did to me allowed me to access the powers I had before I incarnated. And they tried to use those against me. And the problem is, we found out that people like you and me were way more powerful than they are. And that's why we can shut down stuff, and we can have like stuff at Montauk where the kid created Junior, and then Junior came in and starts killing everybody, and then Joseph Powell takes over. You know, that whole thing that happened at Montauk, that's the whole series of Stranger Things. All of season 1 is basically a rebranding and rewrite of Junior coming in from another dimension, messing things up, and they're trying to close that damn portal. And the coincidental thing about it is, the year they shut down Montauk, the next year is when Stranger Things starts in Hawkins, Indiana. They moved the MK Ultra program to Indiana the next year. And that's where the series starts. If you go to Wikipedia, you'll see that the Stranger Things series and the screenplay was actually entitled Montauk.
Yeah.
Before it was Stranger Things. So, Laura, it's insane. Like, we're the original Stranger Things kids. We're the kids with the abilities. Like, it's
right.
amazing.
Well, I think Ileana really helped us, you know, just my agreement with Eisenhower and coming in and taking this down. I mean, this is why I came in.
That was the mission. This time, this place, we would be activated at this time, because our mission will not be successful individually. We have to have very certain people on our team that have certain abilities.
I wasn't in the projects and programs like you guys.
I'm only talking about the agreements in advance
but I'm saying the dots that connect with us coming together to dismantle.
So without you, this wouldn't work. Without me, this wouldn't work. Without Arkheim, this wouldn't work, because us three and everyone else in my unit, we all possess different abilities that each other doesn't have. Kind of like my trauma twin. She has abilities that I don't have, and those abilities complement me like yin and yang.
Yeah, that's how they would typically pair us. They did that intentionally.
Laura, did you want to say something?
No, this has just been incredible. We'd love to have you again. Would you want to come back on again?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So what you sent us, is this like material that is out there?
My book should be out by July. It's kind of like the finishing, and then I have to publish it. But my goal is to have it ready for the Full Disclosure Now conference, which is happening. What are the dates again? July 15th through 18th, right? It's Serrata in Florida.
That's it.
Yeah. So I'll be speaking at that. It'll be my first official time speaking at a conference, and I'm going to be speaking with Alondra Markman, which is new. We were scheduled to speak at the same time, but we both are Montauk survivors with like really similar stories and our testimony definitely complements each other. So we're in the process of creating a joint presentation, and I'm really excited about that because it's kind of like very grounding because it's like, we went through the same stuff, so we're able to kind of confirm things for each other. And Alondra is a great person in the here and now with such a bright soul, and it's really great to have him aboard with me because it shows that despite all this evil that they inflicted upon us, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be evil. I mean, I still have a lot of darkness to me, to be perfectly real, but Alondra is just such a bright, cheery person. So it'd be nice to have his energy on stage with me and just yeah, that's what's the deal with the book is it's being released in conjunction with the conference, and it's almost done.
Brilliant.
Wait to buy your physical book, man.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, it's called Time and Space Unlimited, and it's just kind of a brief overview of the things I've experienced, and I'm sure it's going to be just the first book of many. The more memories I get, the more easy I'm able to like write about it. So, yeah, it's good to be able to put the information out there and have like a physical thing that people can hold, and I hope it gets the information out there more and opens up some opportunities for me because I'm kind of trying to do this like full time. Like I want to speak at conferences. I want to sell my book. I want to. This is where the rubber meets the road, and like I really need to do this full time. So that's where I'm hoping it. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm willing it into existence. That's where this is headed. Is me doing this full time and this getting into courtrooms and tribunals and holding these organizations accountable and us stepping into our own sovereignty once again and saying no to these programs because they seem to rely on us on the illusion that we're consenting to it. You know what I mean? Like the public's consenting to it. But that's all horseshit, and that's kind of what we're here to.
Children cannot consent to be tortured and raped. They don't have the mental capacity because what they do is they trick us. They say, "We're going to give you all these powers. We're going to give you these abilities, and you're going to be able to do this and this and this." But they don't tell you that every day you're going to be raped, and then they're going to tell you, "Oh, it's okay. I love you," but then they rape you again directly when it's over. It's just like it's a life of trauma. It's a life of being an animal. It's a life of being locked in a cage, being fed cat food, dog food. Sometimes you have to eat your own poop because that's the only thing to eat. But like, that's the sick reality of what these programs really are. We're just animals stacked in cages and they electrify the cages and we're cattle to these programs.
Yeah, they treat us like animals. Yeah, so when we're it's because they're afraid of us, though. Really, like
they want to use your power and abilities.
Yeah, they're actually afraid of us. They act like they're all high and mighty and they're so much stronger than us, but they're afraid of us. That's really what's going on. Is they're afraid.
Gosh,
I'm super excited to be speaking with both of you guys, man. July, this conference.
Yeah, so
.org,
speaking of which. Laura, I would love to have you on my show, Disclosure Now, and you could talk about maybe what you're going to be presenting at the conference. Sometime before the conference happens, if you could find the time to do that, me and Brian would both really appreciate it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch about that.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry, and I know it was a lot to go through, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll appreciate you. It's incredible. I can't wait to replay this and listen.
And also, Tyler Koala made you a special thumbnail. And when you see it for our thumbnail for this video, I think you're really going to like it. And he designed it specially for you.
Oh, well, Tyler, if you're watching this, thank you so much for doing that for me. I appreciate
Thank you, Tyler, for creating all our thumbnail art for our show. Me and Laura, we are like forever in gratitude and thankfulness. And like, if it wasn't for you, man, like our show wouldn't be as cool as it is because like your thumbnails are amazing, man. So I honor you.
Right. That's right. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks. And to all the people who want to find me, I'm Arkheim Ra. You can find me on Facebook, arkheimra@gmail. But I think the Facebook usually works a little bit better. And my YouTube channel is Disclosure Now with an exclamation point, and it's Disclosure Known, YouTube/Disclosure Known. And I also have a Rumble channel, which I really should give more love to and upload on more because the YouTube it's only a matter of time before they shut me down, right? Unless I get really lucky. So yeah, but just I'm out there. You can find me, and it's always good to talk to some fellow starseeds and help out if I can. So I'm here.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah, we'll put all the links in the description. And I just friended you. We're not connected yet on social media.
All right, perfect. Thanks for
Awesome.
friending me.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks again for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Bye.
all that you do and all that you are. Bye,
Thanks. Bye.
everybody.
Until next time.